Senator Dominic Hannigan.
Thank you, Alas Carhilly. Firstly, can I welcome the Minister to the House and congratulate him on his recent appointment. As somebody who has served some time in this House, we're all delighted to see promotion from people from, well, previously within our own ranks, if you like. We're speaking today about the issue of tax rebates for people who use their cars to park at train stations, and whether or not the Minister can make a statement on the issue. I think the first thing to say is that we all welcome the major improvements that have taken place at some stations around the country. I know certainly it's led to a much easier commute for people. They don't have to wade in muck in the winter time at some stations. They've now got paved places to park their cars, and they can walk in comfort to the stations. So it's a major improvement at many stations. But it has to be paid for. And we've seen charges come in at places like Ennis, at places like Mallow, and in my own area in Stamullen. And people are now paying about €250 a year in car parking charges. Now that's of course on top of the train fares that they're paying to go in and out of Dublin on their daily commute. And in effect, what this does is it discourages people from using their cars to go to work, especially if they've got alternative ways of getting into work. For somewhere like, for instance, Stamullen or Laytown, people can drive up to Dublin. There's a motorway there. If they've got parking available at their place of work, then there's a possibility that they might choose to use that rather than pay the extra €250 a year in car parking charges. Now, the government is trying to encourage public transport, and work such as these car parks can help to encourage people to commute by driving their cars there and just catching a train. But I think that we need to do a little bit more. And bearing in mind that we've got very, very ambitious targets in terms of emissions and reducing emissions, I think that we need to do what we can to make sure that people use public transport. So I'm looking for perhaps an exploration of whether it would be possible to include the actual car parking charges in the overall tax rebate structure. Currently, if people can apply to get tax back on their commuting train fares. So really, I'm just interested in exploring with the Minister whether or not he'd be willing to perhaps look at including car parking charges at stations into that tax rebate structure. Gur Mahagat.